I want you to take a moment and picture in your head a cactus. Picture it in your mind's eye. Spikes, how long are they? Are they those really pointy, jagged ones, or are those ones that have multiple prongs coming out of one spot? How green is it? What's the texture? What's the texture like? How many different ribs does it have? Now, if you're like me, you might find this a slightly frustrating exercise. I mean, sure, you know what a cactus looks like. You've seen a cactus before. You can picture it, a term that I've always thought is a metaphor for when you think of something that's an image. You have a think about it, that it's a thought. But if you're like most people, you'll have a nice little high-definition cinema behind your eyelids where you're actually seeing a cactus form. I was at one of the EGA conferences, outdoor conferences, about 10 years ago, and thought I'd try one of the more esoteric workshops there. It was a visualization workshop where we ran through a visualization meditation technique, and we would find an object at the end. We would go through and think of like pets that we'd lost in the past and find this object. And I really tried. I really made an effort with this workshop. And in the end, I had to get out my pen and paper at the end and draw down what I thought this object looked like in my mind, because there was nothing there. There was no image that I was looking at. I was just kind of thinking of things that maybe this object could be. No picture, all thoughts. And I guess I just found it really challenging how some people seem to really enjoy this task. I didn't understand why you would enjoy doing this. It seemed a rather frustrating task to me, but I thought I'd give it a try, because maybe it's just the effort that I'd been putting in. Maybe I just wasn't putting in the right effort, and that was the problem. And this has, been something with these kinds of visualization tasks that's weighed on my mind for a long time. So it turns out that there is a condition that was first described back in the 19th century, but with very little research done, and only recently in the past 5 or 6 years has some more research been done into this condition called aphantasia. And what it describes is people's inability to use their mind's eye to conjure imagery. And apparently it's around 2 to 3% of the population that experience this phenomena, or lack thereof perhaps. The opposite of aphantasia being hyperphantasia, for those of you lucky enough to have a super 4K HD cinema behind your eyelids. And I must admit that one of the things that really drew me to psychedelic experiences, especially those of psilocybin, DMT, was this the visuals that I was able to have, this seemingly impossible visual realm looking like real life, coming from my mind, from this interaction between this substance, this chemical, and my brain. But now I find out that so many of you have your own HD cinemas locked away inside your heads at all times. And don't get me wrong here, I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. I always thought the expression, picture something in your mind's eye, was a metaphor, was that what everybody was doing. I thought I was doing the same thing that everybody was doing. Picturing something inside your mind is like using thoughts, which don't have images, to conjure together a picture. I've described this as it's made of thought form rather than imagery. So I've never really felt like I've missed anything. It just surprises me to know now that a lot of people are actually able to picture things literally inside their mind. But for those of you equally incapable, the term is aphantasia, and it's an interesting new frontier for research.